I mean, Real Madrid seem to have turned into the fight club. The players at the moment are holding a crisis meeting.
And this is your captain, your team captain. There was a coming together, and whether it was a punch or a push, it made you get knocked down.
What the heck is going on at Real Madrid right now? Two of their own players going at each other inside the training ground. And somehow, this isn't even close to the first time this club has completely lost the plot. This is the most decorated club in football history, and yet they fall apart more spectacularly than almost anyone. Today we're counting down 7 times Real Madrid completely fell apart. Of course, we will start with Federico Valverde and Aurélien Tchouaméni. It actually started on Wednesday. During a training session, Tchouaméni put in a bad tackle on Valverde. Words were exchanged. The two had to be physically separated inside the dressing room. It was bad, but people thought it was over. The next morning, Valverde arrived at Valdebebas and refused to shake Tchouaméni's hand. Valverde then started accusing Tchouaméni of leaking the story to the media, relentlessly, on the pitch, in front of teammates. Tchouaméni denied it, but Valverde wouldn't let it go. Back in the dressing room, Valverde cornered Tchouaméni and kept pushing. Teammates tried to step in, tried to pull him away. It didn't work. Then Tchouaméni snapped. He threw a punch directly at Valverde's head. Valverde hit the ground, and as he fell, his head struck a table, opening a serious cut.
Ended up with Valverde having to go to hospital with a suspected head injury.
He was carried out of the dressing room in a wheelchair. RMC Sport reported he was briefly unconscious. Football España Real Madrid's club captain wheeled out of his own training ground. After medical tests, Valverde was diagnosed with a head injury, ruled out of El Clásico for 10 to 14 days. And then came the moment that broke the internet. While Valverde was being taken to hospital, cameras caught Mbappé driving away from the training ground laughing and smiling. The footage went viral in minutes. This isn't a bad week. This is a club falling apart in real time. And the scariest thing of all, this has happened before. If you think Valverde and Tchouaméni arguing is bad, imagine your manager deciding to publicly humiliate your captain. That's exactly what Jose Mourinho did to Iker Casillas. At the time, Casillas was a legend, an icon, a man who had given everything to Real Madrid. But Mourinho didn't care about legends. He dropped Casillas, benched him, replaced him with Diego Lopez, and then the leak started. Players openly divided, some backing Mourinho, some backing Casillas. The dressing room split straight down the middle like a fault line. Sergio Ramos reportedly at the centre of tensions. Ronaldo frustrated. Staff members choosing sides. This wasn't a football club anymore. It was a soap opera. Mourinho eventually left. Casillas eventually left. And Real Madrid spent the next 2 years trying to clean up the wreckage. The scary part, nobody saw it coming from the outside until it was already too late. Sound familiar? Okay, let's talk about the most expensive squad ever assembled, that somehow couldn't win a single league title for 4 years. Zidane, Ronaldo, Beckham, Figo, Roberto Carlos, Raúl, on paper, unstoppable. In reality, an absolute disaster. The dressing room was a collection of global superstars, each with their own entourage, their own agenda, their own brand. Nobody wanted to track back. Nobody wanted to do the dirty work. The midfield was basically a gift to every opponent. And the results? Catastrophic. Barcelona won back-to-back leagues. Deportivo La Coruña embarrassed them. Juventus knocked them out of the Champions League. Florentino Perez kept buying more stars. As if the solution to too many egos, it took sacking multiple managers, stripping the squad almost bare, and rebuilding from scratch before Real Madrid found their identity again. The lesson: talent without unity is just chaos in an expensive shirt. They forgot that lesson, and right now, in 2026, it feels like history is rhyming again. Rafa Benítez lasted exactly 7 months as Real Madrid manager. 7 months. He came in with ideas, with structure, with tactics. But from almost the first week, there was a problem. Cristiano Ronaldo was not happy. Stories leaked about Ronaldo feeling underappreciated, feeling like the system wasn't built around him, feeling disconnected from the manager's vision. In training, the mood was reportedly icy. In games, the performances were lifeless. Real Madrid were playing robotic, emotionless football. The crowd booed, pressure mounted, and when the squad's biggest star checks out mentally, everyone follows. Benítez was gone by January. Zidane came in. They won the Champions League. But here's the cold truth. A club should never be held hostage by one player's ego, not even Ronaldo's. And when you look at what's happening now with the dressing room atmosphere around a certain French forward who's still finding his feet in Madrid, between 2009 and 2012, Real Madrid didn't just lose to Barcelona. They were psychologically dismantled. The 5-0, the back-to-back Clásico thrashings, the Champions League semi-finals, where Guardiola's Barcelona made Los Blancos look like they'd never played football before. Players were visibly broken after those games. Interviews were painful to watch. Mourinho was losing his mind on the sideline. This wasn't just about tactics. This was a confidence collapse. A soul collapse. When you believe you're the greatest club in the world, and then you get embarrassed on the biggest stages, repeatedly by your fiercest rival, something inside the dressing room cracks. And those cracks, they don't disappear quietly. Zinedine Zidane, who won 3 consecutive Champions Leagues. 3 in a row. No manager in the history of the competition had ever done that. And then Zinedine Zidane walked into a press conference, completely composed, and said, "I'm leaving." The football world stopped. Behind the scenes, reports suggested Zidane had been feeling the strain for months. Tensions with club hierarchy over transfers, frustration at not being trusted in the market, players privately questioning the direction. He came back a year later, won a league title, then left again. And what he said on the way out the second time was haunting. This club needs a manager who can get maximum performance out of the players. I'm not sure I can do that right now. When Zidane says he can't get the best out of Real Madrid's players, that tells you everything about the atmosphere inside that building. And this brings us back to right now. Mbappé arriving with the weight of 1 billion expectations, and still searching for his best form. Injuries destroying squad depth at the worst moments. Fan patience wearing thinner by the week. Whistles echoing around the Bernabeu, directed at their own players. And then Valverde and Tchouameni in the dressing room, arguing. This isn't just 2 players having a bad day. This is the symptom of a deeper disease, a club carrying too much pressure, too many egos, too many unanswered questions, with no clear identity and no visible leader stepping up to hold it all together. Every time Real Madrid has fallen apart in history, it's followed the same pattern. Results dip, pressure rises, stars disconnect, dressing room fractures, and then implosion. They've recovered before, always. The badge is too powerful. The history too heavy to stay broken for long. But right now, in this moment, Real Madrid don't look like the most dominant club in the world. They look like a club that's one bad result away from completely losing the plot. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Is this Real Madrid simply going through a rough patch? The kind that gets fixed the moment Mbappé clicks into gear and the injury list clears? Or is something more broken this time? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more football chaos, drama and stories that the mainstream media won't touch, you already know what to do. Drop a like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.